Romance at a glance. Romance at a glance.
What you say now?
Romance at a glance.
Go ahead, girl.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to a very exciting episode of Romance at a Glance. I'm your host, Bridget. With me, as always, is my co-host, Shawnee.
Hey, Rich.
Hi, it's so happy to have you in the same room with me
We're in
today.
the same room today.
Yes.
Very exciting. I missed you.
I miss you too. I am so happy to have you here in all of your glorious energy. And also I'm excited, I think this is like a good one for us to be in the same room for. We are talking about The Devil and the Devil's Advocate, books 1 and 2 of The Devil's Playground. We actually decided to do both, but we're mostly going to focus on book 2. But we actually decided to do both because they're quite short. And book 2, you can't really do without like knowing the backstory that comes from book 1.
Yeah, I feel like book 1 alone would have been kind of weird as to what's happening. And I think book 1 justifies some of the stuff that happens in book 2 weird.
For sure.
That I would have been like,
Some
that
fucked
doesn't
up
make
shit.
any sense.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, so as you guys know, we're in our dark romance series, and this is certainly a dark romance. And I, for one, am pretty excited to kind of dive into all of the juicy goodness.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, beyond juicy goodness, this book is wet. It's beyond juicy. It's wet. Slap your mama wet. Let me tell you right now. Wop, 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 wop.
Well, on that note, let's get this shit
Let's get it
poppin'.
poppin'.
Okay, as we said, we're talking mostly about The Devil's Advocate. This is by Ashley Jade. So, Shawnee, tell us a little bit about the narrator.
So the narrator, Teddy Hamilton, Victoria May, Soren Gray, the 3 narrators, one of the guys, I don't know who it was, did a really good job. But the other 2 didn't do it for me. And especially the girl, she kept doing the male voices super terribly. Like when you go like, hey, I'm a man now. This is my man voice. It was definitely a little bit rough. So that took me out of the story a little bit. But I don't know.
Did they switch? Because there are 3 narrators, so you get 3 POVs. So
Yes.
each one did the POV of one of the characters.
Exactly. Yes.
Got it.
You know, and Kane's character sounded nefarious. Like, I felt like he shouldn't have sounded so nefarious. He should have just, like, been so nefarious. It's kind of like if somebody's like, I am evil.
Yeah.
You know, like.
But I'm the bad
But
one.
I'm the bad guy. You know.
Which you don't know necessarily. Well, I guess you do know by the end of book 1 that he's the bad guy. You don't know necessarily the beginning of book 1.
Yeah, but
I think by the end of book 1, you know he's a bad guy.
You know he's a bad guy.
They're both bad,
Yeah.
but you know he's a bad guy.
But I felt like the book prefaced it by saying, there are no angels here. Everyone's the devil.
Right, yeah, that's
and
true.
I was excited about that
That's
because I was like, oh, is this the book where, like, we go in and there's no heart of gold?
Yeah.
Like, is this that book? You know,
Yeah.
so I was excited about that. But yeah, I wasn't actually sure if Kane was the bad guy when it started, which I was happy about because they were all really fucked up. Like everything was fucked up. So I'm like, are we grading the fuckery? Like what? You know? So I definitely was excited to read this book.
Yeah.
I was less excited about the narration, but on a scale of 1 to 5, I'd give it like a overall like a 2.
I mean, I liked the tagline, which is, I made a deal with the devil and I liked it. And I was like, ooh, girl, what you doing with the devil? Okay, I was ready to talk about it. Let's get going. I thought in general, also, the cover art of this book felt very like, so in the first book, the devil is just the one guy alone, and I was like there for it. I was like, okay, like the coloring of it is really nice.
Oh yeah.
The like he's flexing the abs, he's like shiny because they like rubbed oil on him. He's got like maybe like a 5 o'clock shadow thing happening. He got like a very intense look on his face.
Very intense.
Tattoos. Like I was like, yes, please, let's talk about it. And book 2 is very much like you could almost do this exact same pose with different coloring and it would be just like a normal like bodice ripper like romance novel. It's like 2 people. She's facing him. He has no shirt. She's got provocative undies on. She's got like long flowing hair.
Okay, so
I didn't like cover 2 as much as I liked cover 1. Cover 1, I was like, ooh, somebody gonna get fucked hard and I am here for it.
So I was, so between the 2 covers, right?
Yes.
I'm assuming it's a logistic thing. Ashley didn't have access maybe to the same model or like who is the person on book 1? Is that Kane or is that Damien?
I think it's supposed to be Damien.
Okay, so
or
then
in my mind it's Damien.
Okay, but then who's on book 2?
I know it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense
because book 2 should be Damien.
Yes, I think that book 1 is Damien, and then book 2 that is Kane. It would have to be Kane because it's clearly a different dude. Look at the hairline. But
maybe it's because like it's supposed to be like she's the devil's advocate and she's now like fucking over Kane.
Oh,
so it's like showing that she's got her power and she's got her claws in
which
it.
is kind of cool because that means that the people on the cover are not the HEA. They're not the actual couple that make it in the book. Anyway, I just had questions. I'm like, doesn't quite add up.
But I do like the coloring. I like the font. I mean, it all worked for me, like, as a package.
What I didn't like on book 2 was that she looks like a porn star on the cover, right? Like, she's 18. She's like 17 or 18. She's just getting her life together. Yeah. This looks like a porn star on the cover.
A scandalous lady.
Yeah. So whenever I was looking at the cover while I was listening to it, it didn't mesh with the character. It didn't mesh with the character.
It's like her at the end of the book, not at the beginning.
Exactly. I expected more like that girl next door look.
Sure.
But this girl looks very much like she's wearing lingerie. She's got fake eyelashes on. Like, she's got the classic, like, Playboy bunny, big hair. So she did not work for me graphically as, like, the character. I expected more of, like, the girl next door type of feel. But otherwise, I did enjoy, like, you know what I mean? I love enjoying skin.
Love skin. Love some nice skin. Let me walk y'all
tattoos
through the synopsis, okay?
Synopsis me.
So, Eden is our main character. And she is... I'm going to give you, like, a quick backstory on book 1, even though we're going to focus mostly on book 2. So Eden is an 18-year-old, or she's about to turn 18. She's like weeks shy of 18. And she's obsessed with her stepfather, who married her mom when she was 12 or something like that.
Yeah.
And her mom is now deceased. She's obsessed with him and like totally in love with him. She's also like an agoraphobic who hasn't left the house in years and has like severe anxiety. And we get the backstory that she, when she was like 14 years old, was in this like... She calls it a friendship and said nothing ever happened, but she was sort of like involved with her teacher and like they would like text each other. And later on, one of the characters is like, clearly he was grooming her. Yeah. But at the time, nothing had happened yet. Anyways, everyone found out about it and he turned on her and had some powerful relatives. And so her mom basically like threw her under the bus because she wanted to be the district attorney. And essentially, like, said, took her out of school and was like, I'll send her somewhere. Now, in the meantime, they're, like, pumping her full of, like, tons of medication to keep her sort of, like, comatose almost. And as she gets older and her mom dies, you think that he's, like, sort of her protector. Kane is her stepfather. You think he's, like, her protector. He's running for mayor. She's obsessed with him. And it turns out that they had, like, one sort of discretion a few weeks ago where things went a little not fatherly. It was more in the daddy territory. And he's like, this could never happen again. And she, of course, wants it to happen again. So that's kind of where we start with Eden.
Yeah.
Much of the first book flashes back. Like, that's kind of where the first book starts. And then much of the first book flashes back to Kane's senior year in high school.
Yeah.
And his becoming friends with Damien King. And Damien is like, he's the devil of the book. Yeah. And he... You know, he's like the bad boy who has a rich daddy who doesn't give a fuck about anything. Like, consequences be damned because he knows he'll get out of it. And so he just, like, fucks and smokes and drinks and just does whatever he wants, doesn't care. And Kane is, like, the very straight-laced, like, on the debate team, he wants to be president, wants to go to Harvard. His dad's a senator, wants to follow in his footsteps. And you think everything's, like, perfect with him, but it turns out his dad, like, beats him severely, and so does his brother. And so Damien is kind of like enticing to him because he seems to have this like devil may care attitude that Kane wishes he has. So they form a friendship and then they start like fucking one of the teachers together. And Damien has kind of like a friendship with this teacher, but Kane is just there to like have sex with her. And things start to get like more and more depraved. And they start, like, getting close to, like, won't they touch tips, you know?
Yeah.
And then slowly they start, like, licking places together. And slowly they start touching places together. And then eventually they start...
Eventually the teacher's not in between them anymore.
Eventually the teacher's not even there. They're just fucking. And I guess, should I tell the whole thing about...
Yeah, you're already here.
Okay. So I'm just going to keep going. So there's like so much happens in this book, but I do want to give a quick backstory. So Kane ends up killing his dad and his twin brother and burning their house down. And he blames their teacher and frames her for it and says that she was having sex with his twin. And because they're twins, and she's like, well, I was having sex with Kane. And he's like, why would I use like my own name? Or Caleb, of course Caleb would use my name. He wants to like cover it up or whatever. And then she gets let out. And Damon kind of gets roped into, like, confirming the story. And then she gets let out of jail and gets murdered by her abusive husband, who then kills himself. And Damon or Damien goes to Kane and thinks that they're gonna like be together in kind of some fucked up like weird relationship.
Yeah.
And Kane's like, nah, bitch. Like, he's like, you gotta leave the country or I'm gonna kill you, basically, because he has a recording of Damien saying how he would kill someone and like get rid of the evidence.
Yeah.
Which is how he killed his family. So fast forward now, it's been 10 years or maybe close to 15, and Damien is back and he plans to bury Kane.
Dun dun dun.
And that's kind of where book 2 starts. So book 1, it's interesting because you just said this right before we started recording, which is book 1 felt like a prequel.
Yeah.
And I agree. So book 1, I think, started with a bang, with her and Kane having that like sexual, like,
yes.
like she started like touching herself and he like succumbed and like made her orgasm and like came on her. And I was like, okay, this is heading into some like fucked up like stepfather, daddy king,
yeah.
like.
I'm here for this.
I was like, okay. And then they flashed back, and we were in the flashback, and like almost heard nothing from Eden for the rest of that book, basically. Yeah. While I enjoyed the flashback story, I almost wish that we didn't even know about Eden yet.
Yeah.
And book 1 was just the two of them, and then book 2 was like present day, sort of thing.
I agree, because it was, I don't know, it was weird for me to spend an entire book in a flashback.
Like, it wasn't like flash. It wasn't.
Because I thought it was, when you read the book, you have an expectation of the characters you're following.
Yes, exactly.
And so very quickly I realized we weren't going to be following Eden in this book.
Yeah,
and
I kept thinking, like, because in Corrupt, which we just read, I thought the flashbacks were done really well, where it's like it would flashback, which was related to whatever was happening in the present day and explaining something that was happening or revealing something. This book just was like, okay, I'm the fuck out of the present. Let's go to the past and talk about it. Which was confusing because I kept expecting to go back to Eden, and we really don't until the very, very last chapter.
Yeah.
And then obviously book 2 is about the present day and never flashes back again.
Yeah, and the thing about it is like what you said. So I'm not mad at following those two characters.
No.
But like I felt like I'm being promised one thing is going to kind of go and then it just doesn't. I didn't like that. I didn't hate it. But like...
It was more confusing than anything. Yeah. Because like you said, I thought I was going to be following her, and then she's not there. And then I was like, am I supposed to care about this? But like, if you just think about the flashbacks as their own story, I thought they were really good. Like, I thought the writing was good. The pacing was good. I was interested. Like, the sex was really kinky and fucked up. Like,
I loved the teacher
stuff. Like, they had her all tied up.
When
and she was like begging them to come.
When he tells her, like, oh no, you're going to suck his dick. Yes. I was like, yes, you are.
Yes.
That's what's going to happen right now.
Yes. It was very, very... Like, Damien is very much, like, in charge of what's happening and directing the scene. And there was, like, a lot of times where they would, you know, she's, like, begging them to come. And they're like, well, tell us whose dick is whose. And they're, like, both fucking her with a blindfold on. And then they're both, daring each other to go further they're, like, in one of the scenes, Kane is fucking the teacher. And then Damien is licking her to orgasm, but then he's like also like licks his shaft.
Yep.
And he's like staring at Kane. And Kane's like, how far is this dude gonna go? And then he's like, I kind of want him to go. And then he like comes so hard because of like the taboo of his friend doing it. And I thought, like, props, Ashley Jade.
Yeah, Ashley Jade, you are sick. Your brain is sick, and we appreciate you.
We love you so much. Thank you.
You are sick and twisted in all the best ways.
Yes, we really appreciate all of you who recommended these books to us.
Yes, thank you. You guys are real friends.
You guys,
MVPs.
You're the real MVPs. Because, books 1 and 2 both had phenomenal scenes of that, like, commanding... I'm just going to, like, skip ahead and read you one of my quotes. But
just do it, but do it in a sexy voice. Okay, sexy voice. Wait, let's take it to corner. Oh yeah, we're taking it to Bridget's Sexy Corner.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you about 2 different scenarios which are kind of going to like highlight this point.
Okay.
Book number 2, Damien and Eden have just met. And he is about to take her virginity on a balcony, and he's just eating her out to orgasm.
Oh yeah.
And she's kind of like facing away from him, looking out at like the world, stars, whatever. So she's like coming down from a real intense face. And he says, look up at the stars and hold your breath. And she says, why? And he goes, because this is going to hurt. And she goes, what? And he goes, taking what's his. And then he starts fucking her life away. Doesn't even care that she's a virgin. And then at the end, she turns on and she's like, I'm a virgin. He goes, I know, you bled all over my dick. And I was like, And then he proceeds to lick it all up. And I was just like, holy sweet baby Jesus, what is going on?
I mean, it really sets the tone.
It sets the tone. And then later, so they're at his house, and she is riding him. And she's like, I'm not sure I'll know what to do. And he goes, I'll show you how I like to be fucked. And I was like, oh my goodness. Yes, please do.
The dirty talk.
And then like the maid comes in and is like acting like a little biatch. And he's like, there's only room for one queen in this castle. So like you either need to like step up and become a badass, or you need to like get the fuck out, basically. And so he's like, I'm not going to tell her to leave. And she's like, no, she can just watch. And she just starts riding him. And I was like, snaps, baby girl. Yeah, you tell her. Yeah, you watch. Can't have this no more. 'Cause I'm here to party. Anyways, there was like a lot of really depraved weirdness in this book. And I loved it.
I thought this book was so depraved. And I was so here for it, especially because like all the books we've been reading to this point, you know, I've been like, yo, lean into
get darker,
like lean into it, you know. And I kind of like that this book was a bit of a hybrid, right, where Damien was a bad guy with a heart of gold, which is that classic trope we've been running into. But then you had Cain, who was not.
Cain was like good boy on the outside, sadistic fuck on the inside.
Exactly, you know. So I like that those both were present, and we got to play in a little bit. It actually kind of got to hit both those things for me. The heart of gold romantic feel, and also the like I want like this sadistic fuck, like, and you didn't know who she was going to end up
or who she should be with,
or
who was the good guy, who was telling the truth about stuff.
So like I felt like there was that intrigue as to like, you know, and especially because I thought that Cain was going to be is like the hero of the book. Like that's how it kind of the book leads you into thinking. And because it's dark romance, even when he does sadistic stuff, you're like, yeah, but they could still get together.
Sure.
You know? So the fact that, like, I don't know, I think she did a really good job of making me question, like, what the fuck is happening here? But in a good way. Because some of the other books, I was like, what is happening? But this one, I was like, what is happening? Okay. And then there was just a lot of fucking in between.
So much fucking. There was like bondage. There was like, at one point, Damien has like a assistant, manservant, whatever you want to call him.
That's my quote. Oh my God.
Shawnee, set the scene. Tell the people.
Let me take you to Shawnee's.
Take us. Shawnee's nasty lair.
Not Shawnee's nasty nook.
Nasty nook. Ooh, that's good.
So my line was, this is when Jeffrey comes in. And she had said, like, call him back, because, like, I'm kind of interested in this.
So there, let me set the scene, Shawnee.
Set the scene. I'm a terrible scene setter.
So she and Damien are starting to fuck and mess around. And his, like, manservant, assistant, who he's been with for, like, 10 years, comes in. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, the door was unlocked. And he, like, pivots and leaves. And she tells Damien, no, call him back in.
Call him back in, yes.
Yeah.
So he comes back in, and then Damien says to her, lower your nightgown, Eden, so Jeffrey can see your beautiful tits. And so she does, and then he goes to Jeffrey and whispers in his ear, and he says, they taste incredible. And I was just like, oh, the scene's about to get nasty. Oh, shit's about to get nasty.
Yeah, she asked him, does Jeffrey ever, like, play with you?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah, sometimes.
And this scene just got, I mean, just go read it for yourself. Because
you guys have to. It's on Kindle Unlimited. We'll have links in the, like, bio of this on whatever podcasting app you're on, or on our website if you want to go. That scene really, so good.
So good.
So good. Shawnee, I have to say, this was like a true one-handed read, because this book was hot as fuck.
This book was hot as fuck. You know what the best part of this book was, Bridget?
Please tell me.
So my partner, he's very much an advocate for me listening to my books while we mess around, right? And so I was upstairs one-handedly reading this book.
Sure.
And we live in a very big warehouse studio, so he could hear me sometimes. And he's like, what are you up to up there? And I was like, a one-handed read. And he's like, you want company? And I was like, tell me more.
I'm intrigued. What are you offering?
You know, and what he was offering was quite nice.
Nice. That's amazing.
So this was a book for that. If you guys haven't heard us talk about this before, listening to an audiobook, an erotic audiobook while you play with your partner is fucking gold. I don't care. You can't, like, it's like you get the best of the dirty talk and the best of
the
playing
author, like, agonized over the perfect dirty talk.
Yeah. And this book is so full of dirty talk and cool. So many phrases that, like, she just keeps hitting you with them. Boom, boom, boom. And the sex scenes are long enough where sometimes when you're listening to a sex scene on a book, it goes by so fast.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but, like, physically reading a sex scene, I always felt like I had more time to enjoy it than listening to it. But this one, I mean, they're not done. They don't do one thing and then they're done. I mean, they're like bam, bam, bam. Everybody gets theirs twice.
Everybody goes through the stages.
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
that was just a yummy. This was a yummy good time.
I liked that, like, there was, like, an evolution of everything. So Eden's character definitely evolves the most throughout the book, because she's definitely, in the second book, the main character. I feel like Cain and Damien both evolve, but, like, to a lesser extent. Like, Damien realizes he's, like, wants her and wants to, like, be with her. And Cain, we sort of, like, he devolves as we learn more about him, and he sort of unravels as the pressures of all these, like, keeping all these secrets and trying to, like, do all these things to become mayor, like, spiral out of control when Damien comes back. So he sort of, like, devolves in his behavior.
I like the scene where, just FYI, where Cain goes to, like, the mayor to try to get him to arrest Damien, and then the mayor, like, fucks him in the ass.
Oh, you're talking about he goes to the chief of police.
Oh, the chief of police.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he, like, the chief of police, like, you're going to be here every Wednesday at 5 while my wife's in her book club, and I'm going to fuck you in the ass. And I was like, I like this scene. I really
Dude, it was hot. Because, like, I feel like, well, typically you hear or see about women being sexually coerced.
Yeah.
So it's from Cain, that part is from Cain's point of view. And he basically is just, like, willing to do anything. Like, he doesn't care.
He said something like that, like, the things you do for...
Yeah, things you do for power. And he's like, totally doesn't matter. But, like, the power dynamic is always a fun one.
Yeah.
And I thought that scene was written so well, because he's like, well, if you want this, better come over here and suck my dick, and then I'm gonna fuck you in the ass. And I was like, ooh, chief of police, you nasty.
Arrest
you
me.
are corrupt. And in real life, I don't agree you should go to jail, but in a book,
I like it.
I would
Give me
like
the handcuffs.
To hear more. Yeah. I thought that scene was, I mean, like, all the scenes were so hot. Even the scenes where there was no sex, like, the way that Damien, like, looked at her and talked about her. And, like, I always like in books where there's, like, a badass motherfucker, and he's, like, telling the woman, like, you're a badass, too. Tell all these people to bow down, because, like, they, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then she, like, slowly starts to, like, oh, shit, like, yeah, that's right. Fuck all these people. And, like, starts to slowly, like, at one point in, like, the middle of the book, they go to a dinner sort of thing for the political stuff, because Damien ends up cooking up a way that he can become the opponent in, like, the last week.
Yeah.
And so they're at a dinner, and Cain has agreed to become the fiance of the governor's daughter. And it doesn't love her, doesn't even care, but, like, just wants to be mayor and wants to be president. And he's like, she'd be a good political wife. And she says something, like, super catty at the dinner. And Eden's like, and just, like, shuts that shit down. She's like, oh, I shouldn't be here. Maybe I should ask my daddy. Because Cain is her stepdad. She's like, Daddy, is it okay that I'm out? And like, Cain's like, shut the fuck up. Like, she's like, maybe I should go home with you, Daddy. And I was like, oh, girl, you turn the tables. You turn the tables.
I mean, even when, like, Cain was fleshing out to be the bad guy at the end, and there was a point in time where she started, like, fooling around with them, and then was, like, basically like, fuck off.
Yeah.
But I was there for that. I was like, okay, even if she had fucked him at that point, I would have been like, towards the end of the book where she's basically, like, not about Cain anymore, and she was like, he was trying to, like, seduce her or something. I can't remember exactly what happened, but they start fooling around, and then she basically shuts it down. I don't know if she hit him or something, or did something physical to him. I forget. But basically, she's like, nah, it's not happening. But in book 1, it was interesting because I think this book at some points did a good job of making the twists and turns feel natural. Mm-hmm. But in book 1, the twist did not feel so natural to me, right? So Cain is really like the bad guy in book 1.
Right.
But we have access to his inner monologue, and this is the problem, I think, when you do too many POVs, or you do everyone's POV. He, in his own monologue, was very much like, what's happening? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? And then at the very end, it's like, shocking, I was the mastermind of this all the time. And I was like, no, I went back and listened to his POV. He was shocked at what was happening in his own mind.
Right.
So it's hard for me to follow that thread. I was like, I think the author missed the mark on that regard.
I agree. I also do think, though, that, like, for me, he was almost like, when he was, like, shocked that she would go against him.
Yeah.
Like, he was legitimately, like, shocked.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't see himself as a bad guy. True. Even though he's killed all these people and killed her mom and, like, is a terrible human being, he doesn't see him. Like, he was, like, shocked that she could ever see him as the bad guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which a lot of, like, fucking narcissistic psycho people would be shocked.
I mean, Absolutely.
So, like, for me, that was kind of, like, why it fit. But I agree with you. I think it's hard to have multiple POVs. Like, I think dual POVs can work, especially with, like, a good author. But I think, like, 3 POVs is just a tough thing.
Yeah.
Because it also gives away too much stuff, like you said, in a thing like this, where there's a lot of stuff that's, like, being revealed through either flashbacks or we find it out later. Like, Damien reveals, like, her medical chart to her, so she kind of, like, learns it in real time with us.
Yeah.
And at the end, there's, like, a big twist. And I think knowing Kane's POV already, it made... Although, at that point, you're not in his POV, but it made it slightly less... However, I will say that having his POV at the end... Mm-hmm. In the scene where, okay, obviously we spoil everything, you guys. Major spoilers.
We're going to spoil everything right now.
So he gets captured by Damien. Damien forces him to confess everything.
Which was a great scene, by the way. Scene. He put his dick in the tank with a piranha.
Yes, he was like, I don't care, I'll let this piranha eat your dick if you like.
I was like,
make your choices.
Fucking Ashley Jade.
Yeah.
Yo, can we have tea?
Yeah.
Yes,
I know. Guys, if you know her, let her know we want to talk to her. I've been emailing, but I have yet to hear back. So anyway, so he escapes because Eden lets him go, and it seems like Eden's letting him go because either she like forgives him or she's like he like ropes her into this thing of like, oh, is Damien sending you away already, blah blah blah. So he's like using his knowledge of Damien to make her sort of sway to his side. So she lets him go, and they go back to his house. And you think, like, in my mind, I was like, Eden, don't be so dumb.
Yes.
I'm so worried. I was like, don't be so dumb, girl. Because a lot of times, and I say girl because she's 18, these girls in these romance novels be making stupid-ass decisions, especially dark romance. However, Eden was not making stupid decisions. And I thought being in his POV for that,
yeah.
I mean, it was obviously stupid to go with, like, a psychopath.
Yeah.
But, like,
but so it was fun for dramatic effect.
For dramatic effect, yeah. We go back into his... Well, she wanted to, like, kill him in his own house, not in Damien's house.
Oh, okay.
So that's why she did it, because she didn't want Damien to get blamed. So she wanted to do it. Anyway, so she goes back with him, and she basically is, like, essentially, like, seduces him and is like, I'm yours, blah, blah, blah. And he, like, turns her around, and he, like, pulls her pants down, and, like, he's gonna have sex with her. And then he's, like, getting ready to pee on her. Like, I think being in his, like, sadistic mind frame in that scene really helped with, like, how fucking creepy it was.
Yeah.
And also with the surprise, because we didn't get to hear any of her premeditation.
Yeah.
Like, all we heard was him being like, if she lets me pee on her, then I'll know for sure she's mine. So she lets him pee on her, and then she's got her knife that Damien gave her and turns around and slits his throat. And he's like, what?
Which is great, because they left... I actually thought the audible, like, messed up, because he stops talking mid-sentence.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then it switches to her POV.
Yep. And then he's like, dying on the carpet. She lights him on fire and is just like, peace. And then Damien, of course, has chased them because he found the guy. But he gets there, obviously, after the fire, or after she's already killed him. Oh, no, she doesn't light him on fire. She just kills him.
Yeah, she just kills him.
And leaves. And then Damien goes, and he's like, he lights him on fire. And he, like, touches the knife, which I didn't understand. I'm like, why didn't you just take the murder weapon?
Yeah.
But he touches the knife, and he's like, this is one, like, thing I'll gladly take. And then she gets him out of jail by blackmailing the chief of police, who is fucking Kane, and there's photos of it. And so she's like, there's 2 things that can happen. I can release all these photos, or you can just let him go. And he's like, okay, I'll figure out how to make it happen. So I like that at the end she becomes, like, the bad queen of...
She grows.
She grows.
She grows the pig. You know, she's ready. It was interesting because this book could have gone so badly.
Yes.
At so many moments.
Yes.
One of those being in the second book when Damien is telling her, like, what's gone on in the past, but she knows Kane and she doesn't know who to believe.
Right.
Like, there were certain parts in that book where I was like, yeah, who do you believe?
Right.
Like, I have information due to book 1, but you don't have that information.
Right.
So sometimes she was making decisions, and I would be like, that's a really hard decision to make, knowing you know nothing at this moment.
Yeah. Not to mention that she hasn't left the house in 4 years.
Yeah.
Kane's been taking care of her.
Yeah.
And has brainwashed her.
Yeah.
And his therapist is on purpose brainwashing her into thinking Kane is the only thing that will help her.
Exactly.
She's on, like, massive amounts of meds.
Which, it made sense that he tells her, like, your therapist is in on it. Now that gave me the justification I needed for her to actually be listening to Damien.
Yep.
Because before that, if there was a waffling, I'm like, what's the waffle? You don't know this guy from Adam. and you know this guy here.
Right.
So, that's like trying to like choose a stranger over your husband. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was a huge turning point. I also, though, think Damien set it up in a good way, which is he has been chatting with her on this, like, adulterers app, pretending that he's Kane.
Yeah.
And so she's been, like, talking to him and confessing to him, and they form this, like, relationship. And she likes that app and that relationship more than she even likes being around Kane.
Yeah.
So she'll be around Kane, and then she'll be like, I'm going to go to my room, because on the app, I can be with him for real.
Yeah.
And it turns out that, like, she's actually, like, kind of falling in love with Damon over this app. Or Damien always said. And he sends her this dress for this masquerade ball, and she wasn't planning on going, but he's like, we can finally be together. She thinks it's Kane. He's like, you don't have to be worried. No one will know who you are. You have a mask. Like, this is the one time where you can come out without fear. Because the whole town, like, ridicules her and is mean to her.
Yeah.
And also the therapist has been brainwashing her into thinking people are, like, meaner than they are. So she goes to this masquerade ball, but she sees Kane kiss this new fiance. And sees the diamond and then she sees him giving her, or her giving him a blowjob. And I think that, like, was the big shatterer of the first illusion.
Yeah. Especially when he's like, hey, why don't you finish the blowjob that she's giving me?
And then later, he's like, do you want to finish what she started? And I'm like, oh, tacky. Yeah. That's gross. She's 18. This girl's a sweet virgin you've kept at home for 4 years.
But it was also like, I mean, I guess it makes sense because, again, she's been stuck at home and all that. But even when she loses her virginity and she thinks she's losing it to Kane, he had just really sideswiped her with, like, in the face. And then
I don't think she thought it was Kane at that point. She knew it wasn't Kane when she got fucked.
Did she?
Uh-huh.
I think she thought it was Kane.
She thought it was, she didn't think it was Kane.
Because she was doing through the app. No, because they talked through the app about...
No, because she already in her mind was like, wait, but that couldn't have been... Because maybe this guy was the one who was in... Because she notices, like, the voice is different.
Oh,
and
okay,
so she already...
Okay.
She doesn't know who he is yet, but she already knows it's not Kane.
Oh, okay. I must have missed that.
Yeah.
But either way, I liked her getting fucked on the balcony situation.
Yeah.
Just FYI.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
First of all, I liked that he, like, had her wear this pearl G-string.
Yeah.
So the whole time she's there, she's, like, on the verge of orgasm. Then he, like, eats her out in a closet, so she orgasms. So she's, like, on a fucking high wire of desire this whole time. And he delivers. I will say that he delivered on the sensual promises he made.
This book felt like... So,
I also do like that he was a dark romance hero, though. And, well, again, consent is very important in real life. In this book, I was glad that he was just like, take a deep breath and just like, fuck her. And she was just like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And he's like, sorry, I'm not the hero of this story. Like, I'm the devil. I
was like, yes, you are the devil. I felt like this book was written from a female gaze. Like, sometimes when I read these books, even though I know women are writing them, it almost feels like women are writing them in a way that they have been taught that sex should be.
Right.
This book, to me, felt like a woman with a nasty, kinky mind was putting down all her fucking desires and shit on the page. Like, I really enjoyed it. I felt like everybody was super taken care of most of the time, unless they weren't supposed to be during the story. I felt like the sex scenes we got to enjoy them. They weren't too long. They weren't too short.
Right.
They were just really good. If there was action happening, it was happening. Even though they kept having sex throughout the book, I felt like every time there was something different. There was some little aspect of it that was like a new something, which I really enjoyed.
I bet you like that first scene when you get introduced to Damien King and the lady's like giving her report about what happened during the interview. And he's like watching the piranhas eat each other. And then he just turns around and he's like, take your clothes off. And I was like, ooh.
I like what he said before that, when he's like, you can either give me the report or you can go suck this dick or something. He's like, and I was just like, man, set the tone for me. Yes. And then she said it. She was like, look, I'd be more than happy to take the clothes
if
off.
it's on the table.
It's on the table. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just like, man, Bridget, like, this book was a lot of my fantasies. Like
coercion,
together,
like non-consent, like a lot of primal, like taking of pushing down.
But that dirty talk of with Jeffrey, that's like one of my top fantasies. I love the gifting to another situation. You know, like I love that.
Do you want to lick her? Do you want to taste it?
Yes.
Do you want to?
And I love that he was in control of the situation, making what was going to happen. And it was beautifully done. It was like a ballet.
It was like a ballet.
You know? It's actually what that ballet book should have been. Because it was
so true.
Because there was two of them in there. And I was like, what the fuck, you missed the mark. What was that, perfection?
Perfection, yep, missed the mark.
Like, missed the mark. This one hit the mark right on the head.
Ashley
like,
Jade,
boom.
she was just like, bullseye.
Bullseye.
Clip. You know what I like, too, is, like, I always think in books, in general, in romance, like, I want to know, unequivocally, that the hero and heroine desire each other.
Yeah.
And I thought she did a really good job of even scenes where they weren't having sex or there was nothing, like, inherently sexual about the scene. Like, he sees her, and before they, like, go into the funeral, he, like, pushes her up against the wall and, like, tells her, like, if I didn't say it yet, you're beautiful. She's like, you already told me. And he's like, it bears saying again. And he, like, grabs her boob and, like, sniffs her and, like, pushes his heart on into her. And he's like, that's for you for later. Like, buckle up. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Where's the seatbelt?
Oh, yeah.
Where is it?
Keeping all hands and feet inside the vehicle. Ready to go.
Ready, Captain.
I would like to say my answer is yes. I just thought in general, like, I didn't know superly what to expect about these books. I do think the description of them doesn't really make sense. Like, the synopsis,
not at all.
The synopsis doesn't actually make sense for what the story's about. But
everything I found for synopsis was just like reading, was like
they said this.
Of the book.
I said this.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't like those kind of synopses.
Yeah, I don't either. Yeah, I'm like, just spell it out for me. What's happening in this book? But anyways, I thought the synopsis didn't really make sense. So if you guys are checking out this book and you look at the synopsis and you're like, Aru? Like, know that we also think that it doesn't make sense. And that does not take away from the fact that I thought book 2 was great. I thought book 1 was shorter, much shorter. And also, I didn't like it as much. But I still thought it was like a very solid, like, 4 stars. Like, I was happy with book 1. Yeah. Very happy with book 1. Thought it was, like, very entertaining.
Yeah.
Like, the sex scenes were great. I thought, like, I was, like, a little confused, again, why Eden was, like, not in it more.
Yeah.
But in general, I was, like, still in the story and interested, like, and, like, reading so that I could keep on reading. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't like, let me put it down for a little bit. I was like, let me stay up and read this book.
The one thing I thought, and I totally agree with you on book 1, right? Because the whole Eden thing, also the POV, being in Kane's POV, and then having shit be a surprise to him. Yeah. That's, like, that was, like, that didn't make sense to me. But I thought it was super entertaining. I also thought it was tight.
Yeah, it was
right?
tight.
So book 2 for me was not tight. It was way less tight. I kind of wish that book 2 had been the same amount of kind of page count as book 1 in the tightness of it. I felt like there was a little bit of waffling that I could have done without.
Yeah.
Between
like too many intrigues.
Yes, and the one intrigue that Bridget, I hated. I hated that the book did this. Man,
What?
the book had. So at the very end of the book, right, all the intrigues are figured out. Everything's done. Then we find out that the teacher from book 1 is actually her mom, because she was adopted by an aunt and nobody knew. That was useless information. That didn't need to happen in the book. There was it didn't
add any value. Because she already lost it. He already killed a mom.
Yeah, and Kane was already dead. When she finds this out, Kane's already dead.
Right.
So, like, I didn't understand why she put it in there.
I think the reasoning is...
Unless there's another book
I think the reasoning is, like, why... It's more of, like, Damien's reasoning. So, because Christy, who is the teacher, he had, like, a friendship with her and, in a way, loved her.
Yeah.
And he now had enough, like, power and sort of, like, reasoning to know that Kane killed her.
Yeah.
And he wanted Kane to sort of atone for that. Like, he was mad that Kane left him, mad that Kane blackmailed him. Yeah, but he was really mad that Kane killed Christy because he didn't think Christy deserved it. And
but why does she have to be the mother?
But the reason... Well, because he finds out that Kane is now taking care of Christy's daughter. So for him, that's, like, the final straw. Because he says, like, I started watching you when they got married because I was like, he shouldn't be allowed to, like, taint you when Christy was like...
Okay, but...
So, like,
the caveat...
I don't think it's necessary. Yeah. I totally agree with you. He could have just been like, now is the time to strike.
Yeah.
Like, who fucking cares? Like, she's 18. Oh, I can use her as my pawn. That's the reasoning.
But it seems a little kind of fucked up, right? Because he has this love for Christine, right?
Christy, yeah.
Or Chrissy, whatever. He has this love for her, but he kind of fucks over her daughter in the process of the revenge and everything else.
Totally.
I was watching
Yeah,
you, whatever.
Yeah, he uses her as a pawn.
It was a strange bit of information.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessary.
At the end, and I was like, actually, Jade, this book was we're doing so good.
Yeah. It was one too many twists.
One too many twists. I didn't need.
I actually was fine with the twist that he killed Christy and killed the husband. Mm-hmm. I liked that twist. I felt like that could have been the final twist.
That should have been the last twist.
That's what he used the piranhas to force him to. I already knew that you killed your family. Yeah. I already knew that you killed her mom. But I want you to tell her so she knows. And I want you to finally admit to me that you killed Christy. I know it was you.
Yeah.
And the piranhas are about to eat his dick. So he's like, okay, it was me.
Yeah. Because you know what it did? That last twist, it was kind of like a story that's a and then,
yeah,
and then, yeah, and you're like, nah, too many and thens, bro.
I hear that. I still think book 2 is better than book 1.
Yeah, I do too. But I wish book 2 was tighter, like book 1.
I agree. I think it could have lost like 20 pages.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah, 25 pages.
Yeah,
especially because there was just like a lot of stuff that happened in book 2. There were a lot of different scenes. There was a lot of different events. They went to the funeral. They went to the gravesite. They went to that dinner. They were at the masquerade ball. They were at some other charity thing where they met in the bath. Like her and Kane had that rendezvous in the bathroom. They were at his house for a few different nights and times. Yeah. They were she went to see Kane at his, there was a lot of different things that happened. And a few of them had fairly repetitive themes about what was going on in those separate events.
Yeah. I feel like we got the point. There would be a scene that was trying to make a point, but we'd already gotten that point earlier. So I agree. We could have lost at least 20 pages. But yeah, that was my only wish for the second book. I definitely think the second book was better than book 1, and I just think it needed to be tighter. And I think I always say good sex in the books can carry it. It can change my star rating. If I'm the plot whatever, but the sex.
Yeah.
And this is one of those books for
5-star sex.
Where I was just 5 stars?
5 stars?
5-star sex?
5 stars?
What?
All right, well, on that note, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll do all of our ratings. All right, Shani, hit me with them peach booties. What you got?
All right. Okay. All right, so for my heroine rating, she got 3 stars for me. Mostly because in the beginning of the book, she actually kind of annoyed me. I was like, what are we going to do here? Yeah. What's happening here? Okay, this is going to be... I felt like it was going to go down the road of all these other dark romances where the girl's always whiny and very angsty or whatever. But then she gained stars for me at the end when she was like, oh, fuck Kane. He's in on it. Okay, I'm going to double cross him and then I'm going to slit his throat. So I was like, oh, okay, you gained back the stars that you lost. So for me, she was a solid 3 stars. But in all honesty, she was the least interesting character for me in the books whatsoever.
I mean, I think it's hard for her not to be the least interesting character because you get so much backstory from the other two, and also they're just significantly older.
Yeah,
and
but they're also fighting each other, so there's more action between them
in her house. So it's just they're when we start the book, I agree with you. She's just kind of a cloistered little. Doesn't know anything about the world, just obsessed with her stepdaddy, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then slowly she, kind of blossoms. And again, I always like a character who's, step into that power and take it. And I liked that as she, stopped taking all those meds and stopped being, brainwashed, that she started to fuck some other people up with her words and actions and stuff like that, which I like.
Yeah.
And I liked that. So I always think in dark, and this might be more related to Damien's score, but I like in dark romance and in general when a character is supposed to be bad and they're willing to do bad things. Because a lot of these books, like you said, there's bad guys with hearts of gold and then they're not willing to jeopardize the woman. And I liked that in this one. He's I need you to go and I need you to seduce him and find out what's going on. And I need you to do this and use your body if you have to. And she's like, whoa, that's kind of fucked up, but okay. And then I like that later when he starts to fall in love with her, he's especially after Kane, fingers her in the bathroom and, hurts her and, doesn't care because he's mad that she had sex with Damien.
Yeah.
And she says something oh, I'm sorry, were you finger banged to pain and, had to kiss that guy and keep a straight face? Because I don't feel bad for you.
Yeah.
And he's just did he do that? And he's well, I don't know if I want you to be alone with him anymore. And she's well, it's not really your decision, and I'm going to do whatever I want and what I have to. And I was I like that.
I like it because she, at that point, I remember that she was like, "This is your plan over here. This is my plan over here. I just got finger banged in the bathroom. So I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Like your plan sucks, and I'm gonna fix all this. So I like that. So anyways, I gave her 4 stars because I thought she had a really good evolution as a character.
Yeah.
I liked that she like owned her sexuality and was like asking for what she wanted. Yeah. And was like wanting to try different things and was like, well, invite him back in. And like, you know, I'm going to ride you while this lady watches me. And I'm going to like use my sexuality to wound Kane in public and things like that. Like I liked it. I didn't give her 5 stars because like she's not my favorite character of all time, but I did think she was like, I liked her.
She grew throughout the book.
She definitely grew. I liked her. I gave her a 4. I thought she was a solid character.
It's funny that you said cloister in the beginning because that's how I feel about the cover. On the cover, I'm like, this is a porn star on this cover.
Well, because that's her at the end of the book.
Yeah, at the end.
That's her at the end. Once she's like, you know, gotten a makeover and some nice clothes.
She's wearing lingerie.
And she's like, knows how to like, you know, ride that D, you know?
You ready to put it on him. Put it on him.
Put it on him. When she just learns how to wield her sexuality like a weapon.
What did you think of Damien?
Damien, I gave 4 stars because that man can fuck like a banshee.
Yay!
I also liked he was a dark romance hero. Obviously, he did have a little bit of a heart of gold for her. And, like, for Jeffrey, it was kind of like his friend. But also, like, he did not give a fuck and was willing to, like, go to real depths to fuck Kane over.
Oh, yeah.
Which I enjoyed. And I did give him, like, an entire star off because he tried to send her away. And that's a pussy-ass bitch move.
Yeah.
I don't like when they try to send him away.
Oh, my God.
I was like, you bitch.
So
you bitch. I was like, you losing a whole star, Damien.
We're in complete ditto with that one. I gave Damien 4 stars for the same reason. I liked that he was really into the fuckery. Like, I really enjoyed that about him. And he was just like, look, that's not me. I'm about to do some fucked up shit right now. And definitely lost a whole star for when he tried to do that whole magnanimous, I'm sending you away. And I'm like, oh my God.
What'd you give Kane?
I gave Kane 3 stars.
Okay.
Because I kind of hated and loved Kane, I was kind of torn. You know when you don't know how to feel?
Yeah.
Like for Kane, I didn't know how to feel.
I feel like he's like a 1-star human being because he's a piece of shit, sadist, murderer. But also as like a character in a book, I thought he was good.
I thought she wrote a narcissist very solidly.
Yeah, she did.
Like so what? Like
all his selfishness about her pleasure and selfishness about everything, like. And I thought she did a good job of, like, him unraveling. Yeah. I agree. I was like, I wanted to give him 1 star because he's a bad person. And also, obviously, but I agree with you. I think he was a pretty solid psycho.
Yeah. Like, it's weird because I was like, because you were asking me before, are we even rating him? And it's like, well, he was kind of presented like he was going to be the hero of the book. So I felt like I needed to rate him. And also but the dynamics of the character, he did what he was supposed to do as a character. Like the mechanics of his character.
Also, he would stoop to no bounds because they were about to go into the debate for mayor. And he, like, whips out Damien's dick and, like, crawls over to him and is like, I'll beg, I'll suck your dick. Yeah. Like, and I was like, dude, you have no pride.
But also, can I watch you suck his dick?
And Damien just, like, throws him on the floor and is like, I just wanted to see if you'd do it.
Oh, man. I mean, this book was really twisted, and I was really here for it. Like, I'm
classy
happy.
to nasty rating was, there's some kinky shit in this book. That's all I wrote. I said Damien was a McSteamy, for sure.
Oh, I said...
Nobody was a McDreamy in this book.
I said Damien was a McLean into the fuckery.
Okay. Okay.
Because I feel like he was about it, man.
He was about it.
Like, when people say, like, are you about the game? And I was like, Damien was about the game.
Yeah, it was.
And you know what I liked about this book is... Also, the girl was not the center of the story, right? So every book we read, the girl's always basically like the center of the story. Mm-hmm. This one was about their revenge. The revenge between them was the fight, and they were willing to do whatever. She was just like a pawn in this. So the book is really about their revenge. And by any means necessary, they were willing to get it. Yeah. And the things that they do to fuck each other over, between fucking the chief of police to getting a guy to commit suicide so that you can take his place in the election, and like all this. They were willing to do whatever, and I loved it.
And I also like that she wasn't in their plan, and then she ended up being the one who like wins, quote unquote wins. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like they didn't think she was even a player, and then she ends up being the one who kills Kane, and is like, and Damien, you're gonna marry me because you love me. So suck that up.
Suck that up. Also, I got you out of jail.
Also, I got you out of
You're
jail.
welcome.
Bribery and corruption and blackmail. You're welcome.
Caring for the culture.
Caring for the culture. Yeah, so I totally agree with you. Like, it's definitely like Damien v. Kane, and Eden is a casualty. And then Eden's like, nah, I know how to play this game. And then she ends up being the victor, which I liked.
Yeah. I did like that she was the one who killed him at the end. I mean, I understand the dynamics of what you're talking about in terms of she took him out of Damien's house so he wouldn't be in trouble and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, like, I am a girl and I am not very strong. Like, I mean, when I was younger, I used to...
Oh, you're saying it's stupid that she went somewhere alone with him?
Yeah. So to me, like...
She could have just stabbed him in the heart right then.
Yeah, I mean, nowhere in this book do they say she does Krav Maga, okay? And she's fairly petite. And I'm like, the fact that she took him to like a second location to me was just...
I feel like...
Even if she planned on killing him, I still think it was dumb. Because he could have easily bopped her one in the face. And
yeah, but he
wouldn't
because she had convinced him. Shawnee.
I know she convinced him, Bridget did.
But pussymatized. Yeah. Pussymatized.
How did she know,
No, he
though?
also thought she was dumb. He also thought,
that's
you know
fair.
what I mean?
That's
like,
fair.
I totally agree with you. I think it's a terrible idea. If you guys are ever in this situation, please don't take them to a second location. Just kill them while they're handcuffed, okay?
Yeah.
But she knew that he didn't see an equal. Like, he thought Damien was manipulating her the whole time.
Yeah.
He didn't think that she was coming up with any of the plans or that she was the one who
That
was...
is true. I
you know
will
what I
give
mean?
you that,
And so
yeah.
he still thinks of her as like this deranged little agoraphobic who's obsessed with him.
Yeah.
And he's so narcissistic that he thinks that he's like convinced her that Damien's not the one. She lets him go. And he's like, oh, I finally get to fuck her. He hasn't fucked her yet. And he's like been waiting for years to do that. And then he pees on her. And he's like, oh, for sure, she's mine. And nothing like, he's like so in his own arousal and mind that he's like out of it.
I will give you that.
And also she brought a knife. Yeah. And so it's like she didn't like go there and think she was going to overpower him. Like she went there and just slit that man's throat. Like she didn't try to like, let me try and stab you and figure it out. She was just like straight to the jugular. Yeah. Let's just chop that shit up.
I will give you this because...
But I totally agree. Like, don't ever do this in real life. Horrible plan. However, she did have...
Especially with a knife. You don't bring a knife to a gunfight. That was like...
He didn't have a gun.
No. She needed a gun to take him to a second location.
Got it.
Do you know what I mean? Like...
I feel like a gun would be like harder to use though in some ways. Because...
Then a knife slitting someone's throat, that's personal as shit, Bridget.
No, because you know it's going to be personal because you know he wants to fuck you. So you know like she knows she's going to have to get close to him and like let him do some shit so that she can get close enough. But I'm saying like you're more likely to like hurt yourself with a gun if you don't know what you're doing than like with a knife where like everyone knows how to like jab somebody.
I guess.
But like a gun, like the safety's on, you don't know what to do, you're nervous about if it's gonna backfire.
I don't know. If I'm taking someone to a second location, I'm gonna have a gun.
Right, but like I'm gonna have a fucking
but I wouldn't do it.
Assault rifle. I mean, I'm not gonna bring it.
She should have stabbed him and then cut his dick off before he was totally dead. And put it in his mouth. That would have sealed the deal. That would have badass sealed the deal for me right there. I'd have been like, ooh, okay, you ready for Damien? You two are psychopaths. Go off into your little... But
did you like the ending epilogue scene, though, where she's, like, wearing headphones in her bikini, and he comes up behind her, and she's like, my husband's going to be mad. And he's like, your husband's not going to know. She's like, he's coming up soon. And I was like, ooh, Shawnee's going to like this role play.
I do love role play, man. And it's funny because, like, so many dudes won't role play with you.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it's like on the other end of the spectrum, right? Because I never did nothing with a girl. But girls, I feel like we're more playful in nature. Like, even with my sisters, we, like, play. Right?
Also, I feel like your imagination... So, like, visually they're getting off versus where, like, imagination is very important. Or, like, what's going on in your mind is very important.
Very important.
Not just, like, physical and visual.
Yeah.
Which they're more physical and visual.
If you're only taking care of that physical visual, then there's 50% you're missing in the play of it all. And that I'm always like, I love to fucking play.
I'm going to have like a walk-in closet at my next house, Shawnee, because guys, if you didn't already know this, we're moving to the Midwest, and we live in a very small 1,400 square foot house in LA right now that has no closets anywhere.
No closets, no storage.
No storage space. And we were looking at houses, and like, it's crazy how many closets are in these houses in the Midwest. And I was like, we're going to have a huge closet. I was like, we don't even have that much stuff. And then I was like, I'm going to get some costumes. I was like... I could put some locked drawers in the back of this closet and just see what's going on back here. I don't know. Maybe I need to have a little lingerie section. I don't wear lingerie, but I will for the right event.
That's what I'm saying. So something earlier, just to like circle back, when you were talking about he's a fucking narcissist, you would never see it, whatever. And I have to totally agree with you because like I have this friend who is 100% a narcissist. I mean, like textbook 100,000%. And he likes to tell me how his wife left him. And he makes it seem like he is the victim. Like in this story, he's like, she just got up and she left, right? And what he always fails to say in the story is that he was carrying on an affair and not coming home for months. For months and months and months. Then said mistress shows up to his door and knocks on his door.
No.
And his wife opens the door. And his daughter is there. Okay. Then after this, they were fighting, and he's like, "She didn't want to fight for our marriage." And I was like, and he's like, and then
I'm like, "What marriage, bro? You had another whole life."
Recently, he says to me, and sometimes these conversations, like I'm just like I can't. Recently, he says to me, "I saw her again, and I really understand and remember why I broke up with her." And I'm like, "Bro, what history are you?"
I do. People love revisionist history.
Revisionist?
People love it. I mean, first of all, everyone makes up a story about every single event that's happening all the time. We're always making up stuff in our head about whatever's, like, that person's into it, like, their tone, their blah, 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 their blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they could just be having a bad day and nothing related to you, and they don't even notice, like, whatever. I do think it's insane, though, when... Like, I understand, like, having shades that are different, because I will remember something from my childhood, and my sister will be like, that's not what I remember. But our recountings are pretty close.
Yeah.
Like, definitely have different shades of, like, he said, you know, like, but you were mad at me, and she's like, no, I wasn't mad. I was da-da-da. But, like, for the most part, the actual facts of, like, I kicked you, you kicked me are in the same order.
Yeah.
But then I talk to people, and I'm like, none of that happened. Like, you made all that up. And my friends always tease me for embellishing. They're like, you embellish every story. I tell a story, and every time I tell it, it gets a little bit better, or a little sweeter, or the pauses get
tighter. You get
I tighten it up. I just always tightening up my life. But the fundamental facts I don't alter.
Yeah.
I alter the color of what the facts mean or how they, made me feel. But I don't alter, like, what A, B, C, D, E. I'm like, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You know what I mean? Like, I alter the fun.
You do something that I do too, right? Which is like, I'll remember a story and now won't remember the facts that led to said story.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of like make up the information that doesn't matter.
The ramp
to the thing. Yeah. Because I won't remember if it was a Sunday or a Tuesday. I won't remember if it was raining or it was pouring. So you just get people to the meat that you need them to get to, or whatever. Yeah. And it's like you're like, generally it was something like this.
Yeah. But I agree, when you meet someone and they're just like stuck in their own, and you're like, you need to see a therapist.
Yeah,
because that's not what happened. Or maybe you should have a film crew follow you around, because you don't even know what shit you're spouting. Yeah. You don't even know what you're doing. You don't even know what actions you're taking. What woman wouldn't leave a husband who had a whole ass separate life with this other woman, didn't come home for months, and she has a child, and you're not there to help her take care of that child? Nah, bitch, why is she gonna fight for that marriage? That's not a marriage. You fucked that all up, bruh. That's on you. She didn't do it. She's at home.
Which he said, and he said, she wouldn't fight for our marriage. I was like, you are a dumbass white dude. I look him in the eyes. I was just like,
that's some
you were
patriarchy entitlement.
Fucking caucasity over all caucasity.
Oh my god.
Oh gosh. So like when we talk about Kane and you're saying like, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, 100%. I see it. He's like, oh yeah, I got her now.
Not to mention that he got away with legitimately 4 murders as an 18-year-old, no consequences, and then he murdered someone 5 years ago, or a couple years ago, no consequences. Like,
it makes sense because he's like, oh, she ate the lies I just told her. Like she believes it. Okay, cool, I'm in. And it would make sense that he have such a big ego that he doesn't even see it coming. Totally.
Also, when he peed on her, I was like, she better kill this motherfucker, because I don't agree with feces in the bedroom. And I was like, no. No! Do not. Golden shower. It shouldn't even have a name. It's pee. It's not a golden shower. It's pee. It's urine.
Hey, Bridget, there's sometimes...
That's the one kink
you can't see.
I'm not going to shame anyone if it turns you on and it's consensual, then you do you. However, I will say, don't do it on your carpet or on your bed. Do it maybe in a bathroom where you can immediately wash it off. And also,
Bridget, you're killing me.
you know I'm right, Shawnee. Sustain your carpet. Don't do it on your carpet.
I am a germ freak, right? So, like,
if someone peed on me, though, for real, especially if they didn't, I mean, if they asked, I would say no.
Yeah.
And then if they peed on me, I'd be like, let me punch you in the dick. But, like, if someone peed on me without me, like, if in my
Without
past,
consent?
in my historical sexual encounters, if someone had peed on me, first of all, I would have been so grossed out, I probably would have vomited on them. And then I immediately would have, like, I would have been so shocked. I don't even know if I would have been mad. I would have been like, what do you think is happening here? Yeah. At what point did you think she probably wants to be peed on? Because let me tell you a story about how you need to ask somebody.
First of all, that's a definite ask somebody. That's a pre-negotiation. That's not in the moment.
No, it's not.
Not in the moment. That's a we're all in our right mind.
Let me write this on paper, get some sign, because, like, yeah. Anyways, for me, it's a hard pass.
So yeah, you really
hardest of the hard passes. I actually don't think there's another. Like, I would rather someone cut me while we're having sex than pee on me. Not an exaggeration. I'm not exaggerating. I also don't want to be cut. I don't think, but I've never had it happen. But I don't think so. But
you know, like where I always thought, like, especially when I was younger, I was like, oh, I'd rather fuck somebody than blow them.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's so much less intimate.
It's so much
less intimate. I 100% agree, Shawnee. Whenever I see things where it's like, oh, they like coerced someone into giving them a blowjob, I'm like, oh, I'd rather just sit on their dick real quick. I would never want to give them a blowjob to get something.
I need the distance.
Yeah, I don't want it. Ew, gross. It's in my mouth. Ew, I totally agree.
So I was talking to somebody the other day and telling them, like, so a lot of the furniture that I got was given to us, right? First thing I did was get
You're welcome.
Like furniture. Bridget just gave me a shit ton of furniture, but like the couches.
I know.
First of all, they came from a dude's apartment, so 100% they were getting clean. So I upholstery cleaned everything. Yeah. And then if my partner and I play on those couches, because those are our guest couches, I put down blankets. I cover the couch entirely before I will play on anything that is something where any guest in my home will sit on that thing. Yeah. Because I always go to people's houses and I see what is clearly cum stain. I'll be like, that's a cum stain next to me. And at the dungeon,
really?
Oh, all the time. People don't, and like people without children. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I know, but anytime I've ever had something where I'm like, oh shit, like one of us got cum on this couch, then I just wash the couch.
Yeah, that's considerate.
I'm not gonna leave. Well, even for myself, I don't want to sit on my own cum later that's dried. First of all, the couch is gonna smell like sex forever.
Forever. I feel like cum has a very distinct smell sometimes.
Also, like having small children, like you don't get to play in all the rooms that you would like to play in anymore. But like, I guess at night after they go to bed, I could. But then it's like then I have to clean it, and there's crumbs on the floor. It's like
but if you go to like a single couple's, not single, but like a couple's house, and you be seeing stuff, and you're like, I know y'all fucked right here. Like I'm sitting on it, y'all didn't clean it, and you let me sit here.
Oh, that's fucked
and that's
up.
So inconsiderate.
It's so inconsiderate.
To me. I have two rules, which is like my guests need a clean place to pee and a clean place to sit. Yeah, that's it. That's all you're gonna get from me. Everything else is a mess.
Yeah,
but those two things have to happen.
I mean, honestly, I'm like shocked right now that you've been to someone's house and seen them cum stain.
So many times.
I've never seen that.
You ever want to?
Maybe I'm just not observant though.
You ever want to fool around with the dude, right? And you go to their house or something, or their dorm, and you see their sheets, and you're like, "That's a cum stain. That's a cum." Oh, yep, all those are.
Okay, first of all, obviously I'm not observant because no. But also my college boyfriend, he had only had sex like once before, and I had never had sex, and I don't think he had sex at his house.
They're just masturbation stains.
I don't remember seeing any stains. But also I was in Minnesota, and we had a lot of blankets, so maybe there were stains like underneath the sheets or something like that, but I didn't see them.
He could have been a shower masturbator. I know some guys that only masturbate in the shower. Like, I don't know why that's the place to be, but I
don't know if I ever asked him where his preferred masturbation session was.
I think
once he started dating me, I don't think he was masturbating because we were fucking all the time.
I believe this.
We were fucking multiple times every day.
You think like your first boyfriend? My first boyfriend, we were fucking all damn day. It was like go to class, come back, fuck.
Literally every time we saw each other for more than 1 minute with no one in the room, somebody's fingers, things, or dicks, or something was in somebody. It was.
I didn't even know what the fuck I was doing at that point, but I was doing stuff.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
didn't matter. My roommate was like, I'm going to go downstairs to go grab a coffee. We were like, okay. Lock the door. Fuck
15
real quick.
minutes.
Not even 15.
We got 5.
We got 5 minutes. Like,
5 on it.
hop on this. Hop on it, son. Get on in. Yeah.
That's fucking hilarious. But yes, anyway.
I miss the like fervor. So great. It's been a wonderful time in my life. If you're listening, I miss you, my friend.
Oh, he was a good first boyfriend.
He was a wonderful first boyfriend. I hit the jackpot. I really did. He was great. He was the best. He loved me without condition, and vice versa.
Yeah.
And we fit together like just, cookies and milk. You know what I'm saying? It was great. He visited me once for a 4-day weekend in Chicago, and because we lived in different states for the summer that we were dating, and we literally had sex 16 times in 4 days. And the last time we had sex, I know because we had a box of condoms, so I know how many we did. But the last day, I was so sore. I was like, you got to use lube today. And he's like, really? Because we'd never used lube before.
Yeah.
And I was like, honestly, like, I want to have sex with you. We should do it. But I'm so sore. We have to use. I was like, and the only lube we had was like, like free lube you get at college. It was like strawberry flavored or some shit. And we were both like fucking dying laughing the whole time because the whole room smelled like strawberry lube.
I remember those little like squeezy packet things. Yeah. I had a good first boyfriend until the end. Like it ended poorly. But like up until we were both super naive and dumb, which I think is great. Like, he came from a very religious family. I came from a very religious family. So, like, we were really learning, exploring together. Even though he was Muslim, and I'm like, but when you come from a religious family, it doesn't matter what the religion is. You still get the same, like, traumas and the same, like, mindset and the same whatever. But, like, towards the end of it, he wasn't, like, a racist person at all. He didn't have he came from a very small village, and he didn't have, like, a frame of references for a lot of different races. But he had this mentor who was Indian, who kept telling him that, like, in their culture, it would not have been okay for him to date me. He would say that in front of me to my partner. And then it got to the point where my partner started repeating those things. And that was the point where I had to be like, well, that was fun. Yeah. That was fun while it lasted. And then I broke up with him, and he was not happy that I broke up with him. But I was like, I can't do that, sir. Sorry. So it was definitely very interesting. But in the beginning, it was very classically like first love type of fun, dumb shit. We used to watch so much Bollywood. I mean, like, our relationship was like fucking hanging out, going to like canoe and stuff, and then watch Bollywood. That was what we did. Fun. So fun. But that fervor, man.
The fervor. Can't get that back.
You can't get it back.
Especially because I was like, both of you are like, we had like school responsibilities and stuff, but like no real responsibilities. And you have like, you're 20 years old. You got all this energy.
So much energy. Fight the power. Much energy. Now I love watching.
You stay up all night long. Fucking.
I like watching all the 20-year-olds.
I have an 8 a.m. class. And now if someone told me I have an 8 a.m. class, I'd be like, great, good for you. Please don't talk to me. I don't have an 8 a.m. class. But then I'd be like, wake me up at 7:30. Let me fuck before school. Like,
let me tell you the fail of the last few days. I don't feel like you're the only person who will appreciate this. Yeah. So I was talking to my partner, and the thing is, like, even though we consider ourselves in a kink dynamic, we don't have any sort of protocols or things like that happen in like DS things. And since I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety recently, I was like, I would like to have some sort of protocol, something that we do every day that we're beholden to, like a thing. And I gave him examples of the things I would like. He picked none of the examples of the things that I would like. And he said, we're going to have 9 a.m. tea time every morning, right? We're going to wake up, 9 a.m., we're going to have tea, sit together, enjoy 30 minutes of whatever. I was like, that's not one of the things that I offered. 9 a.m. is a time in which I am not awake.
What you're saying sounds terrible.
What you're saying sounds...
I don't want to do that.
Right? So he was like, he's like, maybe this will add some structure, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, not a morning person, and I'm definitely not going to become a morning person, but okay, I'm going to give it a fighting chance. Yeah. So for the last week or so, I've been waking up at 8:55, throwing on my robe, making it down to the table. He has to sit there and have tea with me with one eye open, looking like a grumbling grouch. He's talking to me like, what? Like, what?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I'm sorry, what?
What's your name? Who are you?
He's like,
how did we get to here?
He's like, you're not feeling this as much. I was like, I love the tea time.
Why don't we have 10:30 tea time?
But that's why I was like, why don't
you can work for a few hours and then we can have a break.
Yeah.
Snack time, tea time.
It's
10:30.
I told them I want to have evening tea time. Like, why don't we after dinner or before bed we have tea that we enjoy. I was like, I gave you so many options. Why was this? Yeah. You know me. I don't wake up. I used to tell Bridget I'd be here in the morning and show up at 11:30
or 11:30. That's generous. So generous to yourself. Some days you'd be here at 11:30. Most likely you were here at 12:30.
She was like, "Oh, so I'll see you in the morning." I was like, "Yeah, 11:30." She's like, "Shawnee, what?"
It's not the morning, Johnny. That's midday. It's the middle of the day.
So, needless to say, it's not working.
But I don't even know what we're going to do. I mean, I do know what we're going to do. We'll figure it out. But like when I move to the Midwest, I'll be on Central Time, which is later, which is actually inconvenient. It was like slightly convenient when you were on like a later time zone because by the time you were ready to work at like 3 or 2, I was like, oh, this is perfect. It's like the middle of my day. We can work for a few hours.
Yeah.
And I feel like now I'm going to be like at 10 a.m., 8 a.m. here. And I'm like, Shawnee's not going to be ready to talk to me until 2.
I'm going to try. So I decided that
although we can do like, I mean, you'll still be able to do like if we wanted to record at like 8 p.m. Central.
Yeah.
You could do that. So that might be fun.
Well, I decided to try to give this tea time one last fighting chance. And this is what I'm going to do.
Why don't you ask him to move it to 10? He can work for a little bit.
He sometimes goes into work.
Oh.
So sometimes he works from home, and he can. But he has a first meeting at 9:30. Oh. So it's pretty much before his day. So what I'm going to try to do is attempt to be in bed every night by around 10 o'clock. Just in bed. I don't have to be asleep. Yeah. But if I sleep before midnight, I can get up at 8 a.m. no problem.
Yeah.
Right? But generally I'm a night owl, so I don't go to bed till like 2 and 3 a.m. in the morning, which is not conducive for waking up at 8:55.
No, it is not.
So I'm going to attempt to go to bed early. Yeah. He has to go to bed early anyway, so I'm going to go to bed with him and see if I can naturally just wake up sprightly and ready for the day, fresh as a daisy by 9 a.m., which I think would be helpful for us.
I would be great. I think you should try it. I have had a ton of things to do between Romance at a Glance and consulting and getting my house ready to sell. I was up till like 2, 3 a.m. multiple nights this week. One of the nights I was reading. But the other nights I was working on shit, Shawnee. And Leo, a couple of the nights, is like, are you coming to bed? And I was like, no, I am not. I am on my computer still, and I have shit to do. And I was like, I could do it if I could just, like, wake up later. But it's like my kids still come in and wake me up at 7. So it's, like, not pleasant to go to bed at 2 when you have to wake up at 7.
No, it's not pleasant.
I'm just like, who am I? Who are you?
Who are you?
Get out. Get out. Go watch Paw Patrol. You know how to turn on the TV.
I feel like I would stare my kid dead in the eye and be like, I will murder you. I brought you into this world. I will take you out of this world.
Soup's mean when Kira asks me for something, and I'm like, you need to stop moving right now. Okay, let's talk about our ratings, and then let's wrap this shit up.
Okay.
We've gotten off track. Dear friends, I know you guys like to listen to us ramble, but we have gotten off track. What is your star rating for this book?
I was on the fence, but I decided, because this book gifted me so much goodness in my vagina, that I was going to give it 4 stars.
Woohoo! Me too.
I gave it a solid 4 stars, Bridget.
Yes. 4 stars from Shawnee. Yes. 5 star smut. 4-star book.
Yes. 5-star smut, baby. 4-star book.
I gave it 4 stars. I thought this book was better than the first one, which I think was like a 3 to 4 star, and this book was like more of like a 4 leaning towards 5, like 4, 4.5, 5 star. Like if I had to qualify them, but I don't think it was quite at a 5 star, which is why I gave it 4 stars. But you guys, highly recommend it. Yes. Get in there, pop those links in the descriptions, and get yourself this Kindle Unlimited duology. Mm-hmm. Also, if you have not signed up for Kindle Unlimited, you can also grab the link in the podcasting app of your choice or on our website, and you can get a free month of Kindle Unlimited or 2 free audiobooks on Audible, courtesy of Shawnee and me. And check it out.
Check it out. Also, we get a small commish that you don't got to pay for. They just give it to us. And that helps us run this podcast.
Hell yeah, it does.
Give us a commish.
Commish. Pop those links. Pop those links.
Definitely, I agree with you in the rating. Like, the first one, I agree, was like 3 to 4 stars. Second one, between 4 and 5 stars. I didn't give it 5 stars because of the tightness of the book and for the inconsistencies I felt like in the POV of what was going on. But I mean, the smut in this book really put some band-aids on some things. You know what I mean? You really can let some things go when you're just like, you know, hey, suck on her titties now. I'm like, yo, yeah, yes. What was I mad at? No, what I think titties? Yes. Okay, let's do this now. So I definitely very excited about that. This book is definitely going on my, like, I need a quickie
Spank
to
bank?
get. Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's perfect. Spank bank. This is going in my spank bank. I got 5 minutes. I need something that's going to do it for me quick. Spank bank.
Spank bank. Spank bank. Well, there you have it, friends. Spank bank. Until then, may your books be your lover.
And your hand your best friend. Spank
See you
bank.
next time. Spank bank. Thanks for listening.
Subscribe to our channel to get new episodes, clips, and more.
And click here to watch our previous reviews and author interviews.